We'll begin with the prelude of preparation. We have gathered here to give thanks for the life of David Churchill. We come together in grief, acknowledging our human loss. May God grant us grace that in pain we might find comfort, in sorrow, hope, and in death, resurrection to eternal life. And so we come here today as a soul humbled before the mystery of the universe, as a poet enthralled with the beauty of a fleeting sunrise, as a person listening through a tornado for a still, small voice, as a drop of water in quest of the ocean, as a dancer moving with a hidden rhythm, and as a prodigal yearning for home, as time flowing into eternity, as a child climbing into a parent's lap. Let us pray. Blessed God, source of life, genesis of all creation, whose presence is hidden within the clothing of nature, to whom the trees and flowers praise the glory of your being, we reach out to you in spirit, thought, and faith, trusting you feel our sorrows, hear our prayers, and provide for our needs here and hereafter, as promised by Jesus, champion of the soul. I invite you to join with me as we sing our gathering hymn, which is America the Beautiful, 696 in the red songbooks there before you in the pews. Reading from Psalm 121. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. The one who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, the one who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm and will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and your going, both now and forevermore. And from John 11, when Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. And when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know he will rise again at the resurrection of the last day." Jesus said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who believes in me will never truly die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one foretold." Let us pray. We are grateful, Creator God, for your presence here and for your unfailing love. Shepherd us through the tangle of emotion we call grief, and lead us to a nourishing place of acceptance where love is evergreen and gratitude for life awakens once more. Strengthen memories of joyful time spent and soften the pain of sorrow's lament. Today, we celebrate the gift of David's life, recalling friendships he made, work he accomplished, music he set to rhythm, laughter he ignited, joy he tasted, love he gave, and lives he inspired. We rejoice that in family, friends, and community, David embraced the marrow of life's purpose. May we too open wide our hearts to those around us. Be with us now as we honor his contributions, remember his journey, and release him to your eternal care. We pray as Jesus taught his disciples, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen." We're going to share a few words of tribute from some of the members of David's family. And so Linda Churchhill is going to start us off this morning or this afternoon as we share these reflections together.
This might be a little bit of a struggle. For those that don't know me, my name is Linda. I am Dave's number one daughter. I'm going to do my best to get through this because Dad deserves to be honored. But please forgive me if I struggle. I do want to start by thanking all of you for being here. It truly means the world to me that you are taking this time to give tribute to a very special person. Thank you to family, friends, coworkers, Pastor Bascom, and the church, and anyone who has reached out to show support during this difficult time. I'd also like to thank the Academy for nominating me to be the first speech of the day. All right, wrong speech, just kidding. Trying to lighten the mood a tiny bit and help me get through this at the same time. I struggle to write this as it truly is an impossible task to express how much I love and miss my dad. How do you sum up 86 years of life in a few paragraphs? You can't. I have known Dad longer than most everyone here today. I have known him my entire life. And if you guys want to tell me I look 20 years younger than I am, that's great. But I'm not going to tell you my real age. There are far too many memories to share them all in a few minutes. But then again, it seems like there are far too few, as there are no more to be made. I'm going to touch on a few lessons Dad taught me over the years. He taught me that family works together. Everyone pitches in. Cooking, cleaning, cutting wood, mowing lawns, etc. Family plays together. Going for a Sunday drive, having lunch at his favorite Beaky Cafe, right? Burger King. And once he even waited over an hour at Cedar Point Amusement Park in Ohio for me to go on a roller coaster ride. Dad was not a fan of amusement parks, and he was not one to go on rides, so that was a special day. He taught me to work hard, and Alina too. He hated dandelions, and he paid Alina and I to dig them up. We'd get paid 1 penny per dandelion, and 2 pennies if we got the entire root. The more you dug up, the more money you made, right? He also made sure we grew up with pets, cats and dogs, so we would learn responsibility, as it was our job to take care of those pets, not to mention the chickens, for a couple of years. He taught me to always do the right thing, even if it's hard to do. After our mother left, Dad still took Alina and I to New Hampshire to see our grandparents and my mom's family there, as he felt we should still be able to see them and them see us. And even though they loved Dad, I'm sure that was difficult for him to go there at that time. When it was time for me to start driving, Dad decided I was going to have an international scout and we were going to build it together. At first, I thought that was a great idea. But of course, I had no concept of how much time that would take. Weekend after weekend after weekend, we worked on building it. While my friends, of course, were at the mall shopping and, all the things I would have preferred to be doing at that age. But I look back at that time and cherish everything I learned, and most of all, I cherish those hours we spent together. We had lots of time to talk while we worked. We grew up going blueberry picking on Streakin Mountain in Buckfield, sometimes multiple times a week when the blueberries were in season. We would drive up the mountain sometimes in Dad's Scouts, and as we got older, we would hike up. We always had buckets full of blueberries. 10 years ago, Dad had mentioned to me that he would like to hike up there again one more time, and I immediately offered to go with him. It was a great day for both of us. While Dad was at Androscoggin Hospice House, I asked him what some of his favorite memories of Alina and I were growing up. He rudely didn't answer. Okay, honestly, at that point, he hadn't spoken in a few days, but come on. So I proceeded to tell him some of mine. We had an old woods truck prior to having tractors that we used to go out back with to get wood for the wood stove. We never bought wood. We cut down full trees, cut and split them into the size we needed for the stove that Dad had built himself. Dad named the truck the struggle buggy, as it did sometimes struggle to keep running. One day when I was little, I remember him lifting me up to put me on the seat to go up back with him, and I crossed my arms, and I put this pouty look on my face, and I asked him why we had to go in the truck because it was dirty and gross. Ironically, the struggle buggy is one of my favorite memories, as it was such a unique thing to have, and he named it perfectly. I had hoped to find a photo of it to show here today, but unfortunately I did not. I wish he still had it, but at some point he sold it. When I was still quite young, actually. I talked to him about his coaching myself, Alina, and Katie to shoot rifles and the many rifle clubs we belong to, as again, that was more time spent with Dad. Not to mention all the wonderful...
The pain is all a million miles away.
And here's a video. I don't know why there's not a shooting video playing, but that's okay. Rifle shooters are just a great group of people. I even shot for the CMVTI rifle team when I went there for college. Going to the national competition at Camp Perry in Ohio with Dad was a huge highlight in my life, and being able to take my daughter Katie there when she was shooting was another blessing, all thanks to Dad. I told him how happy it had made me to have him there at all of our softball games and practices. I thanked him for the Christmas when he got me a spare tire for my Scout. I think that photo was up there. At the time, I really didn't want a spare tire, especially for a Christmas gift. But as Randy always says, you don't always get what you want, you get what you need. Dad always provided us with what we needed. And yes, he always made sure there was something under the tree that we wanted as well. Dad is strong, smart, full of integrity, a loving son, brother, father, husband, gramps, and a caring friend. You may have noticed I said Dad is. I hope to keep his spirit alive. His body is no longer with us, and I miss his hugs. But he was always here with me in my heart. He is with us. We just have to look a little harder. I love you, Dad, and if you could speak right now, I know his response would be, I'm kind of fond of you too. And Dad, I got my nails done. He was big on girls had to have their nails done, even when you're wearing boys' clothes, but it's okay. Thank you.
And I always thought I was the funny sister, and that literally just changed everything I was going to write. So I'm probably going to change mine along the way. I'm also going to try not to cry, but again, if I do. And I see people I didn't even say hi to. Thank you all for being here. I see Jenny and Mark. And so. Anyway, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Alina. I'm Dave's youngest daughter. I'm his favorite number 2 daughter. And when he would say that, especially at the hospitals, a nurse called me aside and said, "Are you okay with that? I think your dad loves you." I'm like, "No, it's birth order. That's Dad." He had nicknames for all of us. Being number 2 has never been a favorite. But anyway, Dad was my hero. I think a lot of you feel the same way in this room. As I thought about what I wanted to say today, I realized there are countless things I could tell you about my dad. Many of them you already know. I could tell you about his championships, his black hat, his beloved scouts, including one I had to help build. That was fantastic. His tractor, his hobbies, and all of his accomplishments. But I really want people to remember most about Dad is that he made people feel loved and safe. He loved his family with every ounce of his heart and soul, and he made sure we knew it every single day. I also watched him later in life lovingly care for his very own parents, and he made them feel safe too. And I remember saying then and having a conversation with Linda that someday we're going to be that for Dad. And we've tried hard to be that for Dad. And it was an honor, it wasn't a job, even though it was hard to watch him in the end. Like many families, we had nicknames. I'm not going to tell you Linda's. Oh, yeah, because he gave the, anyway. When I was little, I don't know why, but Dad called me Monkey Pie. No idea why. As I got older and decided that nickname was no longer acceptable, especially in public, he changed it to Eenie Monster because I was so small. But the monster part, none of us get. Even Linda doesn't understand that. I was always good. But the nickname that meant the most that he used for Linda and I, he called us Babe. And it wasn't just the word. It was the way he said it. He would look directly in our eyes, put a hand on our shoulder and say, "Hey, babe." Or he'd see us across the way. I'd go visit them at the gym sometimes at CMMC, and Dad would be the loudest person, "Hey, babe," across the way. And it made me so happy. He would light up. But every time he said that word in that moment, we felt safe. It didn't matter what was happening or where we were safe. We were protected. We were cherished. We were unconditionally loved. And what I wouldn't give to hear him say that one more time. Many of you know that when I was 11 and Linda was 13, our lives changed forever. After a frightening chapter in our childhood, we found our way back to Dad. We did it together, and with some help from Uncle Kim and Uncle Al. And later he told us that was the most terrifying experience of his life. It was of ours too, because Dad was our rock. He was the person we trusted completely. He was home. He was the only home we really knew. And after Dad became both father and mother to 2 young girls, there was no roadmap, no guidebook, and somehow he did it. He worked harder, he loved harder, he protected harder, and he dedicated himself to Linda and I and making sure we always felt safe, loved, and cared for. For the rest of his life, that's exactly what he did. For some of my favorite memories were the simple ones: blueberry picking on Streakin' Mountain, board games, volleyball, badminton, and softball, standing at the picture window waiting for Dad to leave the house every time he left. He would never simply drive away from us. He would wait until he saw Linda and I in the window, or if we were outside, and then he would wave to the horn and blow kisses to us before he left, every single time. And I don't know if any of you have noticed, but every time we were on the phone with Dad and we'd say, "Bye, Dad, love you," he never would say goodbye to us. That was a word he never used with us. He would hang up the phone first. And at first we thought it was a little rude, but really he said after losing us for a bit, he could never say goodbye. And he never did. Not once, not even now. He'd say, "I'm pretty fond of you too." That was Dad, always making sure his girls knew they were loved. One of the greatest joys of his life was becoming a grandfather. When my son Chandler was born, Dad was there, kind of by accident, but he was there. It all worked out, obviously. You've seen my son. Chandler's middle name is David. When I told Dad that Chandler would carry his name, tears filled his eyes. It meant the entire world to him. He was there for Alyssa, Katie, and Marcel Jr., too. There was nothing he wouldn't do for his grandchildren. He loved them fiercely, completely, and totally unconditionally. One of my favorite memories happened during one of my very difficult 95-degree half marathons that I thought would be a great idea to run. By mile 10, I was exhausted, hurting, big blister, and wondering how I was ever going to finish. Then I saw Dad in Maryland. Dad had carefully planned where they would be able to park, get through traffic, and cheer me on. There they were. He used to run, so we understood. Waiting, encouraging, believing in me. When I saw them, I found strength to keep going. Looking back now, I realized Dad did much more than help me finish a race. He spent his entire life helping me find the strength to do hard things, sometimes really hard things. One of the things I admired most about my dad was his wisdom. He truly listened. When you talked to him, he would often close his eyes, take a deep breath, and listen with his whole heart. Then he would ask a question that became famous in our family. "Do you really want my advice, or do you just want me to listen?" That was Dad. Wise enough to know that there was a difference. If you wanted advice, he gave it. And somehow he always knew exactly what we needed. Not necessarily what we wanted, trust me, but what we needed. People trusted Dad with their hearts, their worries, their dreams. Oh, sorry. Hold on, I got off track. Almost done. And he carried those things carefully and confidentially. For me, this loss feels especially profound because no one knew my heart and my soul like my dad. He knew every chapter of my life, and through it all, he loved me completely. Dad loved his friends deeply and fiercely, like each and every one of you in this room. His friendship with Carol, our Carol, was especially meaningful, and so were the many friendships with his extended family that he built over the years, including the Morrison and Sylvester families, who became part of our family, and luckily we also became part of theirs. He loved and trusted Randy and my fiance, Vinny, and knowing that Linda and I were going to always be protected gave Dad such peace. Many of you know I wrote 2 books, and both were dedicated to Dad and Linda and several others. I dedicated them to Dad because so much of his strength, resilience, courage, and determination that carried me through life came from him. His fingerprints are on every chapter of my story. Today our hearts are broken, but they're also full of gratitude, full of love. His sacrifices, his wisdom, his strength, his integrity, his example for all of us, and the countless ways he showed up for everyone. Dad spent his life helping others carry their burdens. Now it's our turn to carry forward the lessons, strength, honor, and love he gave to all of us. I will miss hearing him call me babe. I will miss his voice. I already miss his hugs. And I will miss knowing I can't pick up the phone and call him, and he'll tell me everything's gonna be okay. But I know this. Every time I find strength to do something hard, every time I choose integrity, every time I protect someone I love, every time I encourage someone to just keep going, just one more step, just keep going, even running, trust me, a part in my dad lives on. Thank you, Dad, for being my protector, for being our teacher, for being my friend. For being my hero, and for being mom and dad when we needed you most, and for loving us so completely that even today I can still feel it. I love you, Daddy, and I always will. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for those beautiful tributes. Katie Bandiri.
It's a little hard to follow. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie, Dave's granddaughter, number one granddaughter for first in the birth order. But I'll start this by saying, Gramps, when I think about this family, I think about you as the root, as our anchor, as our strength and our resilience. You raised two incredible women who are driven, compassionate, smart, kind, and giving. They love you deeply and are so grateful for the work you put in to raise them. They've become amazing mothers who have passed forward many of the lessons you gave them as parents. It's easy for me to point to the impact you've had on others, but harder to speak for myself, because that means acknowledging the loss this is for me. Whenever people ask me about my role models or who inspired me, you're always the first that comes to mind. I've always felt this special bond with you, like our minds and our personalities align. I think in many ways you were the first person I identified with, and still to this day, I think you're the person I feel most similar to. I've always seen you as eager to learn, determined to be self-sufficient, never being satisfied with anything less than perfect, carrying a deep duty and care for your loved ones, and having both a playful and self-deprecating humor. When I think about my shooting days, I feel honored by your coaching. You were so patient, supportive, and an exemplary coach. I treasure that time together, both the knowledge you gave me, but more importantly, the time spent together. It's always an interesting thing to bond across multiple generations, but I'm so fond of the time we spent over lunch, having sandwiches at home, or stopping at Cole Farms on our drive back from the range. I've appreciated the wisdom you've shared with me at every turn, and all that you've recounted from your road trips. You've inspired the travel bug throughout the entire family, I think. You've taught me to find a partner I wouldn't mind spending hours and hours on a road trip with, and someone who will put up with my grouchy days. In many ways, Lakshay reminds me of Grammy and the balance of personality you found with her. Christmas is my favorite holiday because of the sense of home I've always found at your house. It's going to be one of the hardest days without you. Still, I'll hold so many fond memories in my heart of all the holidays spent together. Let me close by saying thank you. Thank you for being such an adoring gramps to all of us, and an incredible dad to our moms, and a loving husband to our Grammy. We're going to miss you tremendously. I already do, but I'll carry your spirit with me every day I spend on this earth. I can never forget all the times you told us to have some fun and make good memories. And I like to think you were pretty successful at living life that way too. Sending so much love and hugs to you.
Thank you, Katie. And we'll listen to Cameron Churchill, too, Dave's brother.
Let's see if I can fall down. Made it. That's what happens when you get old, huh? But we're not old, are we? Not a bit. Dave told me I'm not getting old because I'm his baby brother. Now, the first time he said that, I was like, baby brother, huh? It was kind of, but then I stopped and I realized how he was saying it. It wasn't being nasty or unkind. It was with pure love. He really meant it. He was really very proud of what I'd been doing, and he really made me feel very, very special to be a baby brother. Now, I wish I could recount to you many of the things when he was just a child. I mean, we grew up on a farm, but he was 6 years older than me, so he was already a teenager before I was even aware that I had a brother. So he was off in his own little world. I do remember one thing, that when we moved off the farm in Minot to Auburn, he got to bring along a cat. My other brother, Al, we didn't get to bring along a cat. So Dave was kind of, But we went through life. He was kind of in his own little world. Being 6 years older than me, he had his things to do, and I had my slightly older brother that I hung out with. So Dave was kind of in his own little world doing those things. And he ran track when he was in high school. He got involved in those kinds of things. And then he went right into the service right after high school. And we've all heard about how kind he is and the things that he shared. Well, I remember about 1960, something like that. He was stationed in the Army over in Hawaii. He sent me a baseball glove from Hawaii. Now, how's that for taking care of baby brother? My other brother didn't get anything. It was the way he was. And a year after that, in 1961, he'd gotten out of the service and had gotten a job on a fire tower way up north and beyond Eustis, Maine. You know, you remember way up north. I fell July 28th, 1961. I remember that. Busted up my left arm really bad. He drove, after he got done his shift on the tower, he drove all the way down, checked up on me to make sure baby brother was okay, and then drove all the way, and then drove all the way back. And that's the way he was with me. And obviously the way he was with family. And there were many other incidents along that line. After I was married to my dear wife, thank you, we had just kind of settled into a house, and then we had a hurricane that knocked out the power. We did have an old wood stove. Dave brought some wood. He was watching over baby brother. And again, in 98, the ice storm. Out of power for over a week. I was running out of wood. He came again and brought wood and checked up on us to make sure we were okay. And that's what I remember him for. He always was there to make sure that we were okay, family was okay, and that was his job. That was how he was. And I could make other remembrances of things of that nature, but really, that was his full nature. And so I feel very special being baby brother. And I remember one of the, as I think Katie already mentioned, and maybe one of the others have mentioned, in his talks to me, he made sure I promised that I would have a fun life and go out and enjoy things and do things. So I'm passing that along to you people, okay? That's a promise he made to me, and I'm passing it on to you. Go and do what you can, even if you don't feel that you can. Do it, and do it in Dave's memory, or on your own, whatever. But go and have a good time. Even if it means just walking out the door and looking at the clouds, or find a mountain, go drive somewhere and take a look and remember him. And just say, yeah, that's beautiful. I'm feeling it in my soul, because that's what he taught me. Climbing up Streaked Mountain for the blueberries. That's still my special place, even if I can't get there anymore. But yes, those things are very, very special. So that's what I leave you with, a promise. Go out and do. We've had a great time traveling. Mom and Dad inspired us to do that, and Dave took it over, and really, he and Marilyn, oh my God, all the trips they took, they got to see and do. That's what life is all about. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Cameron. You know, even when we see it coming, we are still caught off guard a bit when death comes home to one that we love. We continue to listen for the voice, to see the smile that warms our soul, to feel the presence of one who is family forever. And we become conscious of the march of time, the gathering years, and the trajectory of our own earthly journey. And at such a time, we need the gift of one another, to know that we are not alone, to know that this is not all there is, to know that we can trust ourselves to one who is with us in life, death, and in the life hereafter. In the few sentences that I offer cannot possibly summarize almost 9 decades of David's adventure or tangle with life, but revisiting a few details, as shared with me, may frame a context for priming some of the impressions he made on your hearts, too. Following the service, you will want to find a word, a gesture, or a memory, perhaps, to help you release him in a way that reflects your singular relationship with him. David Ernest Churchill was born in March of 1940, the oldest son of Ralph and Shirley. He grew up in Maine and served 4 years in the Army after finishing his early years of education. He worked as a successful truck salesman at Morrison and Sylvester for almost 50 years. He was a talented marksman who won countless competitive awards at both state and national level. Throughout adulthood, he treasured his connections with local gun clubs. The priority of Dave's life work, however, was raising his two precious daughters, Alina and Linda. For many years, he raised them as a single father, encouraging them in their achievements, which, through his inspiration and enthusiasm, included auto repair and marksmanship too. He often joked about being an old grouch, but his heart was ever so much bigger than the Texan hat he wore. And his love for God, and for Marilyn, and for family, and for friends held the core of his life's purpose. He was dependable, hardworking, resourceful, fiercely independent, and capable of fixing all things broken. He was a mentor and coach to grandchildren and called himself lucky to have them in his orbit. In truth, he was the gravity which kept calling them home. Ever observant, Dave noticed when something was amiss, and if his daughters were troubled in any way, he would catch their attention. "Hey, babe, are you okay?" And they could trust him as their confidant. He valued their agency and encouraged them to just go and do. "You got this." Funny and playful, wise and intellectually curious, Dave set an example through reading, getting involved in local government, working with international scouts, and learning about the national parks. He encouraged outdoor recreation and not only cleared snow for skating, but kept at it until his girls had a polished surface on which to practice. Dave often recounted the story of how he and Marilyn first met, describing the many ways in which she saved him, and his gratitude eternally to Carol Akers for introducing them to one another. At a Poland gun club, Dave listened as other members spoke about their wives, and he opined, "I wish I had someone to talk about like that." So Carol mentioned a co-worker's sister who was available and arranged an encounter. Dave and Marilyn struck up a conversation, and salesman that he was, Dave determined then and there to follow up on his fortunate lead. Later, Marilyn assisted Dave with a medical recovery, and they were partners for life. They adored one another and found serenity from a shared love of nature and traveling, and for 31 years they remained one another's champion. Eager to supply a never-ending source of cordwood as heating, Dave was perpetually busy. He practically lived on his John Deere tractor and often hiked up mountains and other places to watch over the surrounding landscape, and of course spent a time doing that from an old fire tower with its magnificent 360-degree panoramic view. He had an intuitive green thumb and loved gardening, and I suspect he tackled such things in true partnership with his Creator. In earlier years with the church, Dave sang with the choir, and the songs that we have shared and continue to share at this service are some of his favorites. He began attending the United Methodist Church of Auburn with Marilyn a couple of years ago, and he made every greeting line at the end of the service most entertaining. I loved his sense of humor and learned to shake his hand with my left in order to avoid aggravating a lingering injury on the other. When I visited with Dave, Carol, and his family at Andwell Hospice shortly before he died, we sang a hymn together, thanked him for his gifts of character, and trusted him to God's sustaining embrace. And though so much more could be shared, we do want to give opportunity for a few of you to offer a snapshot of memory, if you wish, before repairing to a reception in his honor. And so I conclude my reflections with an observation by the author Ernest Hemingway, with whom Dave shared a name. Life breaks everyone, and then some become strong in the broken places. May that be true for you too, as you heal from the grief you carry. So I'd like to invite Vinny to come forward. He's going to start our sharing time together, and then if there are some of you who'd like an opportunity to share a word, that opportunity will be given.
Thank you, everyone, for coming today to celebrate David. He was an easy guy to spot with his cowboy hat and his green International Scout. When we first met, he was very cordial, but not the easiest person to read. I could tell right away that he loved his daughter and was protective of her. But once he discovered that I liked to shoot and that we shared some other interests, our relationship began to grow. One of the first times we spent an extended period of time together came when Alina hosted a bridal shower at her house. The girls were very excited to spend time together, but as you can imagine, bridal showers just aren't my thing. I asked David if he wanted to take off and come with me, and to my surprise, he said yes. So over the next 2 hours, I learned a few things about David. First, he didn't fit easily into my Corvette. Second, my Corvette was much faster than his Scout. And third, he wasn't big on appetizers. I ordered 3 of them at the restaurant, and he didn't touch a single one. He simply sat there and watched me eat all of them. He also didn't drink, and I had a few of those too before he headed back. But what I remember most is that he never judged. We simply had a great time talking about all sorts of things. So, as you know, most people open up after they have a drink or two. So since David didn't drink, how could I find out what he really thought of me? Fortunately for me, I had a secret weapon, which was my medical career. Over the years, David had a few visits to the operating room for various procedures, and unlike other members who had to wait an hour and a half before seeing their loved one, I had an all-access pass because I knew everyone in post-op. I will never forget the first time I went to see him. When David was nervous, he got grouchy, very grouchy. But when he woke up and he saw me standing there, he took my hand, and I could immediately see the relief in his eyes. Still medicated, he started talking. He told me how fond he was of me and just kept going on, and of course, I wasn't about to interrupt him. Over the years, we had countless conversations, but some of them very loud, as David wasn't really great at putting his hearing aids in, but we always made it work. Thanksgiving and Easter at our house were special because all the family was together. Spending Christmas Day at David's house is something I will always cherish, although sitting next to that 90-degree wood stove is something I will not miss that much. I will especially miss the times that David thanked me for bringing him Gatorade when Alina was the one who always picked it up. I would just laugh while Alina stood by my side and say, "You're welcome." Alina and I enjoy traveling, and David was especially excited when we started adding destinations out west like Montana and Utah. He would tell us stories about all his adventures as he loved being out west. He would pull out his maps to show us all the KOA campgrounds where we could stay. I never had the heart to tell him that there was absolutely no way his daughter was going to stay at a campground unless by chance it was called the Hilton or Marriott. As the years passed, his hugs lasted longer, and there was a growing realization that he can no longer do all the things that he loved and wanted to do. For those of you who may not know, David was an amazing marksman with a .22 competition rifle. He still holds national records, and he won the state title more than 30 times. Putting down the rifle that had defined such a big part of his life must have been incredibly difficult. Throughout his life, David was honest, dedicated, loving, loyal, and a self-sufficient man. He loved his girls and always wished he could do more for them. In a world where so many people see themselves as victims, David was the complete opposite, and I deeply admired that. His best friend, Carol, has always been there for David over the years to lend a hand, and I know David cherished that relationship. On occasion during these last few years, David would ask for assistance, which I knew was difficult for him. I thought I already knew, but I learned how to stack wood the right way, the David way. And while I was able to help him in many areas, Randy was fortunately able to help him in other areas, such with his vehicle, something I knew David greatly appreciated. As we get into our 50s and 60s, we begin to understand something crystal clear about life. It goes by fast, much too fast. There is so much to do and so much more to say. One of my favorite memories happened just 2 months ago in April. David had asked me to take down a dusty old .22 rifle that hung in his family room for as long as I had known him. He said it was broken and it didn't work anymore, but he entrusted me to see if I could somehow get it to fix so we could shoot it. The rifle dated back to the early 1900s, and I researched online for parts, made calls, and it didn't look promising. Fortunately, with my limited skills, I was able to disassemble it, clean it, lubricate it, and get it so where it would fire. On April 30th, I brought it back to his house. David had slept in that morning, and as he got dressed, I told him to put on something warm as we're going outside. He said, "Why would I want to do that?" And I replied, "Don't you want to shoot your rifle?" as I held it up. His eyes lit up, and it was the most excited I had seen him get in some time. That alone was a gift. We made our way out back, and David did indeed fire that rifle one more time. Then he looked up at me somewhat surprised and said, "It works." That was a great day and one I will always cherish. For those of you here who have never had the opportunity to know David, you can see him in both Linda and Alina. They love their dad dearly. Over the years, I have lost count over the numerous ways they have supported him. Through every challenge, they always rose to the occasion, especially during these last 2 months. Together, they have shown their love in countless ways, not only for their father, but also for each other. Because of that love, they were given a gift of spending an entire night with their dad at Animal Hospice in Auburn during his final days. They told stories, they shared memories, and they laughed and they cried, just as they had when they were young. They were also by his side when he passed, and for those of you who have experienced this, you know what a precious gift that is. Linda and Alina, you have both made your dad proud. And in truth, the reason you were able to love him so well at the end is because he loved you so well at the beginning. In a time when one really saw a man raise a child on his own, especially 2 children at such a young age, he raised not only 1, but 2 remarkable daughters, and I think that may be David's greatest legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinny. That was a beautiful gift to share with us all. Are there any others who'd like an opportunity to say a brief word or tribute? Come to the microphone, because some are on the live streams.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Allie, the favorite number 2 granddaughter. I want to thank you all for coming today and honoring the strongest man I know. Gramps always felt near, no matter how physically apart we were. He motivated me, taught me lessons, and made sure that I always had safety gear loaded up in the back of my car. Life without my Gramps feels very different, but the feeling of his presence being near has never left. I trust that he is back doing all the things he loved, hopefully shooting lots of guns, gardening, solitaire games, and tractor rides. I love you, and may your cowboy hats forever remind me of you.
Anyone else? Okay. I'm not sure if this one is working or not. Ah,
I can't find my glasses.
you want me to read it for you?
Yes.
So these are words from Marilyn. David Churchill called me one night out of the blue. A friend of mine said he knew someone I might like, so gave him my telephone number, and the rest is history. We talked almost an hour, and by the next night when he arrived to pick me up, I felt like we were old friends. It was all... He was all duded up in a black shirt, jacket, strong tie, and his famous black cowboy hat, which often entered his signature too, didn't it? I learned he was so much more than that. He had a kind heart. He was honest to a fault. He loved his daughters and bragged about them and brought them up in the most beautiful way. They were loved beyond measure, and that had made him all the more dear to me. He was a smart man with strong feelings for us and a sense of direction and purpose. Our trips in our motorhome to see the West and tall mountain chains were a dream come true to both of us. Every day of my life with him was a blessing from God. I always thought he'd probably be the first to go. He was 8 years older, but I was willing to put my faith in God. David also believed in God, and knowing that brings me peace. When we lose someone so dear, it is wonderful to remember the really good times. It does not take away the sting of death, but gives us the hope, faith, and courage to go on. The reality of being loved and blessed so deeply can give us the courage to keep going if we let it nourish our souls and heal our broken hearts. And that is what David wants for us. He loved us very dearly. There will be opportunity to share some of our memories later at the reception. So for now, I invite you to close your eyes for just a moment. Do not think of this service as the door closing on my life. Nothing could be further from the truth. For me, a door has opened to a new adventure, a road trip perhaps, or a sharpshooter's competition, a growing circle of friends, or a hike in the woods, conversations by campfire, fading by ember until a new day dawns. For dawn it will, with new opportunities, rhythms, and discoveries. Do you know how great the need is here for willing and capable mentors? So do not think the door of my life has closed. It remains open, and the coffee is on, and it will be ready whenever you visit, whenever you remember, whenever you love me as I love you. We invite you to a reception in the fellowship hall following the service of remembrance with gratitude to all who have contributed to it. At approximately 4 p.m., we invite you to a graveside committal service at Buckfield Cemetery in Buckfield, Maine. Dave's girls would like to offer 2 gestures to keep their dad's memory evergreen. First, near the sanctuary entrance, you will find packets of forget-me-not seeds. Please take one and plant the seeds in a special garden. As the flowers bloom, we trust they will remind you of Dave, his kindness, strength, wisdom, and love generously shared. Second, there is a memory box provided with cards. If you have a favorite story, memory, lesson, or word of tribute, we invite you to write it on a card and place it in the box. David's daughters would like to read them at special holiday gatherings when Dave's presence is particularly missed, to remind them of his laughter and his continuing presence. Thank you for celebrating Dave's life and for continuing his legacy. So let us join together as we sing our closing hymn, which is In the Garden, 314 in the Red Songbook. And I invite you to stand. May your heart be as patient as earth, your love as warm as hearth. May your days be full as the nights are full of stars, as joyful as dancers. May your arms be as welcoming as home, and your faith as enduring as God's love. May your spirit be as valiant as your heritage. May your hand be as sure as that of a friend, and your dreams as hopeful as that of a child's. May your soul be as brave as your people, and may you be blessed. Amen. All things come of thee, O Lord, and of thy light